with the good this evening, which is going to be focusing on, Johnny, the return of Saquon Barkley to New Jersey. He obviously played for the Eagles in that Sunday night fixture against the New York Giants. Obviously, they won that game quite heavily for some stupid reason. I've not got the actual result right in front of me, which is a bit stupid of me. But I will find that. Obviously, now Eagles 4-2, only losing to the Falcons by a point in week 2. And they also lost to the Bucs 33-16. It was a big reaction to Barkley's return to New Jersey, to the New York Football Giants Stadium, MetLife, Johnny. It was the exact reaction we thought we were going to get, weren't we?
Absolutely. I think, Saquon has started so well in his new home in Philadelphia. And obviously, the rivalry between the two divisional teams was exemplified by the noise around Barkley, the boos that we could hear on every snap that he took in, pre-game and on the field. But he absolutely ran all over the Giants in this game. And, I think what we've seen from Barkley this season is him back to his best. And I think for the Eagles now, they their offense looks so dangerous when they can, really, really hammer down the run game, obviously led by Saquon. I mean, 178 or 70 odd yards on, I think, 17 carries is, a ridiculous stat line. His second best rushing game of his NFL career. And I think this game, like I said, it showcased that the Eagles, as much as we've sort of highlighted their difficulties, whether that be, through coaching or, some of the sort of passing of the torch of their key players, leading to, a few malfunctions, I suppose, of the last 12 months. They still have a brilliant team, and when they're able to rush the ball, they're one hell of a defense. And I think they haven't started well in games offensively, and again they weren't able to score in the first quarter of the game this time. They haven't been able to do that at any point this year. But I think, once they get going, they look a really strong team, against the Giants, who obviously, aren't the greatest team in football at the moment. But, we've talked about how good their defense is looking. I think, things are only going to get better for the Eagles and Saquon. I thought his touch at the end of the game where Nick Sirianni sort of hinted at, you're only a half dozen yards away from your rushing record. Would you like to go and do it? And he was, insistent on giving some of the younger players some reps. He's, looks to be a real team player. He's not after those sort of personal accolades. He's chasing rings, and I think he's in a really good spot for the Eagles. So yeah, this is certainly their best moment of the season as a collective. And it's led by their most dangerous player. So I think things are going to get a lot better. The defense looked a lot better as well for the Eagles. So Saquon and Philadelphia, I think, are coming back to their full prime, and should be, I think, feared by defenses all across the league at the moment.
Yeah, so the final result was 28-3. I knew they absolutely trounced, I just couldn't remember what the actual score margin was. No, you're completely right. It was 176 yards and a touchdown. It was an average of 10.35 yards per carry. I mean, he's playing some of his best football. And what's crazy is I feel like at the start of the season, there was a little bit of a bit like a Derrick Henry thing in Baltimore, where it was like, we need to give him the ball more. But he's had 15 plus attempts each week. Like, he's fine. Like, they're utilizing him in the right amount of way. That does go up to, the 25 markets in some games, but I think they're using him in the right way now, and it's going through him. But when they combined for 269 rushing yards on the night against the Giants to Giants 76, I think that's a little bit of why New York are incredibly upset in the first place, of why they lost him, and why he went, especially given the money that Daniel Jones got. And it was a little bit like, do we pay DJ or do we pay Saquon in a way? And you look at this game and the Giants must be sitting there thinking, what the heck happened? It's insane. He's gone for over 100 yards 3 times this season. Packers week 1, Saints in week 3. I didn't realize this was his second best rushing game ever. I didn't even realize that. I thought he was quite good in the interview after, though. You know?
Yeah, definitely. He came across, I think, quite humble in, when he was on the field. I think he, obviously have so much respect for the team that he left. I think we can all presume that he was, happy to remain a Giant, and the confusing scenes on Hard Knocks from over the preseason, how they weren't able to get a deal for someone
that has made it way worse. I think that having that on
definitely.
camera has been way worse.
Definitely, he absolutely crushed the team that that adored him and loved him, and now seemingly hate him, as we saw on on the weekend. But yeah, I think he's got so much respect for his whole team. It obviously didn't work out, and he's now focused on the now with the Eagles. And he's coming. He should be in his prime with his the prime years for a running back. That could mean he's only got a few years left. He's chasing those. He wants to win and win now. And I think he's in a good position at the moment. I said this is obviously the Eagles, I think, best moment of the year. They're starting to build up a bit of a run and get back into this division with obviously the Commanders leading. But yeah, I think Saquon is a respected player around the league. Everyone knows he has so much talent. Yeah, he's one of the two. Him and Derrick Henry, I think, are the most dominant running backs or players in their position. And yeah, I think this sort of revenge game, I think, showed everyone, not just the Giants, but showed everyone that just how good a player he is. Because I think he does get overlooked sometimes because probably of
His
his injury
injuries, I
record.
think. Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
But he without doubt is one of the best football players around, and yeah, fair play to him. I enjoyed watching him bulldoze through the lines, the Giants, and yeah, I think it's a really exciting point now for the Eagles. They look like they're turning a corner. I mentioned on defense are able to rack up 8 sacks. They only had 4, I think, in the first 4 games of this year. So those young players, I mentioned Bryce Huff, who struggled to start with. Nolan Smith, I think, got a couple this weekend. So yeah, if they can get back to that Jonathan Gannon style defense that we became so accustomed to, then with the offense ticking under Saquon and Hurts, yeah, this should be a really, really good team. So I think I'm a lot more positive about the Eagles than I was, say, 2 weeks ago. And a large part of that is obviously Saquon's dominance.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be fun to thought. And I think what is important about this game was the Giants were the team that was sort of on everyone's lips of going like, this team's actually not that bad. Like this team's not that bad. This is the quarterback's not great, but like this defense is pretty good and stopping some teams and making some plays. And to have this done to them, it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing from their point of view. And for the Eagles, they must be looking at their fixtures now. I mean, the next 3 games are the Bengals, the Jaguars, and the Cowboys. I don't have whether they're home or away for them, but all 3 are below the top 10 in rushing yards per year. Jags are close. Jags are the best. I think Jags are 11th in defensive rushing yards this season, so they're pretty good at stopping the run. But they are all below 20th in rushing touchdowns. They've all allowed for a lot of rushing touchdowns. So, if Saquon's catching fire now, like Nick Sirianni and the offensive coordinator in the name has just completely escaped me. The guy who was at the Cowboys,
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore, yeah, must be really salivating at this. They're going to be looking at them 3 games, aren't they? And thinking, we know what.
Yeah, massively. I think Saquon does so much. He takes space off of the players to help his receivers. We've talked about how Jalen needs to get back to his 2022 form. I think unfortunately he was a large part of the Eagles' struggles from last year. But if Saquon can help out in terms of helping to generate opportunities for those other talents around. We know how stacked the Giants are, both on defensive and offensive side of the ball. I think they have a really good team, and I definitely think they can in those sort of fixtures. If they can definitely the next couple of weeks rack up some wins and have what is looking like a really good record at the moment, and they are they're now 4-2, and I think they can beat the Bengals, and certainly
they can beat all three teams,
Jaguars and the Cowboys. Say again.
They'll beat all three, I think.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. And that game against the Commanders in a month's time, really excited to watch. Obviously, we know how much the Commanders have improved, but their defense is their shaky part. And if they can get what they got going on Sunday, then again, I don't think the Commanders will have too much hope. Going against what is, I still think, a good team. They just have to have everything clicking, and we're just starting to see that happening in the last couple of weeks.
Your mic keeps cutting in and out, just very slightly. So I'm just going to finish on this while you maybe just take a look at that. And that's considering Devin Singletary's their starting running back. Okay, Saquon has started 2 more games. I admit this, but I still think this is relevant. Devin Singletary's had 61 attempts to 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12 first downs, 3.9 yards per attempt, 47.8 yards per game, 2 fumbles. Flip side of it, Barkley's had 6 games, admittedly, 108 attempts, 658 yards, 5 touchdowns, 25 first downs, 6.1 yards per attempt, 109 yards per game, and 0 fumbles. Like that is also must be why the Giants have also been, because I think a little bit of the boom was for Saquon. Of course it was. But I think some of the boom was also for the franchise, was them going, you give this away. We have this. I think he was happy there as well and wanted to stay there. And you give this away for a running back that's the same age. Okay, way cheaper, admittedly way cheaper. And even though these 2 games behind Singletary, I'm sorry, he's not getting in that category. No, I don't care how good he was at the Texans for that year and how he played in Buffalo. He's not getting to that. I'm sorry. Saquon is a far superior running back. We know this. And the Giants took a stand and they said, we are going with the quarterback. We are not going with the running back. I'm not saying that is the decision I would have made nor not made, because I do think, this is a quarterback league. This is a quarterback league. We know that. It's not about running backs. But when it was so clear at the time that your quarterback was not the right guy, clearly, and to give away a talent like this, it's so mind-boggling. It must be so mind-boggling for the Giants. I feel incredibly sorry for them, and I'm sorry to sort of really dampen the mood on it for the Giants.
But no, I completely agree with you. I think we've seen, particularly the last couple of years, you made the point about the running back position, not being able to churn out running backs and being dispensable or whatever. But teams have found success when they de-emphasize the run game, and that's an identity which I think the Eagles are certainly focused on. And there's obviously a lot of other teams across the league who focus on that identity. And I think the Giants have obviously taken the wrong option with the resources that they had available, and they're staring down the barrel of having to obviously replace their quarterback, because he's doesn't look I think we can safely say he isn't going to be the answer, despite that 1 year of promise, which obviously led to his new deal, and they're going to have to start again. And I think they could have won. Their record would be better with Saquon than
I believe so.
And without him, I'm confident at that. So obviously very disappointing for the Giants, and that's, I think, another mark on their front office. And unfortunately, Brian Dable is only obviously he's not been in the job all that long, but he's definitely someone who, I mean, we might even talk about him a bit later on the hot seat. But It's just so unfortunate, I think, for the Giants, because I think they've just missed opportunities, or contractual decisions have just been off over the last few years with their key players, and that
they've had some magic in the bottle with some of these players. And I'm sorry, players like Saquon, players like Xavier McKinney as well have just been let go. I just think there's been a lot of weird turns in weird corners for the New York Giants. And the next section we're doing is